Have you ever longed to be unshakable? Someone immune to criticism, rejection, loss, or betrayal? Have you ever dreamed of the moment when the silent pain, the inner torment that consumes you even while you wear a smile, finally ends? Perhaps you're exhausted from trying to please everyone, from upholding an image of constant strength, when deep down, all you've ever wanted was a brief pause from the burden of being untouchable. But let me tell you something that maybe no one has dared to say. As long as you run from pain, it will run your life. As long as you numb yourself, protect yourself, or hide, you will remain captive to everything that happens around you, to the words that cut, the actions that betray, the silences that slowly destroy you inside. And this is not weakness, it's reality for most people. The only difference is that some are better at pretending. Napoleon Hill, one of the greatest voices in transformational philosophy, said, "We are not defined by what happens to us, but by what we choose to become." That's where the key lies. It's not about shielding yourself from life. It's not about becoming cold, detached, or invincible. It's about integration. It's about illuminating what still festers in the dark. Because real strength is not the absence of pain, it's full self-awareness even when you're bleeding. If you're still watching, it's no accident. This message is for you, the one who's tired of constantly hurting. It's for the one who always feels emotionally overpowered, like others possess a control over your heart you can't explain. I want to show you it doesn't have to be that way. But for that, you'll have to confront truths that may sting. And for the first time, that pain might finally set you free. Let's begin. You think what hurts you lives out there, in other people's actions, careless words, unexpected betrayals, or abandonments you didn't deserve. But the truth is brutal. None of it has real power to hurt you unless there's already an open wound inside. It's not what they do, it's what those experiences trigger in you. It's the meaning you assign. It's the old trauma left unresolved. The hollow space you mask with strength, with pride, with a desperate need to look okay. Napoleon Hill reminds us that the pain we feel from the world outside is simply a mirror of what remains unhealed within. That's why some survive catastrophes with clarity, while others crumble at a passing comment. It's not about the event, it's about where it hits. And here's the harsh truth: you still suffer because on some level, you believe you can control how life treats you. You're still trying to be good enough, smart enough, strong enough, kind enough, as if that could somehow protect you. But control is an illusion. And as long as you chase it, you live in fear, predicting the unpredictable, resisting the inevitable. Do you want to stop suffering? Then stop protecting yourself from it. What you need isn't more control, it's more awareness. As long as you believe others must change for your pain to end, you will remain enslaved to their behavior. Freedom begins the moment you realize nothing outside has power unless it finds an echo within. And that, right there, is the real battlefield, the unconscious. What you do not see, do not understand, and do not master, masters you. And that's exactly what we're going to explore next. Prepare to go deeper, because that's where real transformation begins. If this message resonates, click the subscribe button and stay with us. Thank you for your support. The greatest lie you've ever been told is that you are in control of your life. Wake up, you're not. At least not while you continue living on autopilot, reacting without knowing why, feeling without understanding the cause, making choices you later destroy. Napoleon Hill made this painfully clear. Until you bring what's unconscious into awareness, it will govern your life, and you will call it fate. And that's exactly what's happening. The pain, the sudden anger, the unexplained sadness, they're not random. They're signals from forgotten parts of you. Ignored, denied, suppressed. Hill spoke of this hidden realm as the subconscious, a living force, a system of memories, trauma, desires, and fears you refuse to face, but which keep deciding what you feel and how you behave. You wonder why certain words break you while others walk away unbothered? It's because those words touch unhealed wounds. If they still hurt, it's because you haven't faced them. You've just shoved them beneath the surface, and now you keep stumbling over them. Napoleon Hill warned, nothing can change until it's accepted. Judgment doesn't heal, it only imprisons. And what have you been doing? Silencing yourself, criticizing yourself, suppressing everything, hoping it disappears. But the subconscious doesn't vanish when ignored. It simply finds darker ways to speak. In toxic relationships you keep repeating. In patterns of self-sabotage you can't escape. In sudden fear and anxiety that appear just when life seems okay. This isn't bad luck. It's your inner world screaming. But you keep pretending to sleep. Do you want to stop getting hurt? Then stop running from what's inside. As long as you don't know your subconscious, you are a puppet of your emotions. And the more you armor yourself against the outer world, the more exposed you are to the war within. But there is a way out, and it's not defense. It's integration. Becoming untouchable isn't an act of resistance, it's an act of deep self-acknowledge. And that's what we'll look at next. What does it truly mean to be unshaken? Why is real power not born from armor, but from acceptance? Let's keep going. Most people think the way to avoid pain is by shutting down. They build walls, wear masks, develop emotional armor, and say things like, I don't care anymore. Nothing gets to me. But deep down, they bleed. They corrode from within. Because the problem isn't feeling, the problem is not knowing what you feel or why. That only happens when you don't truly know yourself. Napoleon Hill said it beautifully. You can master every theory and every method, but when you're touching another human soul, be simply human. And that human part of you, buried beneath strength and control, is begging to be seen. Emotional strength is not about being numb. It's not about ignoring pain, avoiding conflict, or pretending you're okay. It's about integration, about accepting, about bringing to light what's long been hidden in the dark. You don't become untouchable by building barriers. You become untouchable when nothing inside you remains untouched. When your fears, flaws, and insecurities are no longer strangers, you stop reacting. You begin to observe, to choose. You're no longer a slave to emotion, and that's real freedom. Napoleon Hill called this process self-realization, becoming who you truly are, not what others expect, not who you thought you had to be loved, but who rises when the light meets the shadow, when the conscious and unconscious align. Self-realization isn't about perfection, Hill made that clear. It's about wholeness. You don't need to be better, you just need to be whole. And here's the truth nobody told you. The more you flee from pain, the closer it chases. The more you pretend it doesn't affect you, the more fragile you become. You become whole not by avoiding your wounds, but by facing them. When you embrace who you are, every part, both beautiful and broken, noble and flawed, nothing outside you can dismantle you. But this path demands courage, courage to look inward, courage to drop the masks, courage to feel, because within your pain lies the key to transformation. Let's go deeper now, and this time without fear. You were taught from a young age to fear pain, that suffering means weakness, that crying is a waste, that feeling deeply is dangerous. So you learn to escape, to suppress, to pretend. But the more you avoid your suffering, the more it follows you. And worse, it changes form. It shows up as anxiety, rage, numbness, restlessness, self-sabotage. Pain doesn't disappear when ignored. It tunnels through you, until one day, without warning, everything collapses. Napoleon Hill saw pain differently. He believed suffering was the voice of your soul, the warning light of your subconscious, the language your whole self uses to get your attention. He once said, depression is like a guest dressed in black. If she arrives, don't send her away. Invite her in, offer her coffee, and listen. But we don't listen. We silence ourselves, distract, stay busy, numb, We do everything we can to avoid what truly matters. What is this pain really showing you? The truth is, suffering cuts so deeply because you're still at war with yourself. One part of you wants to grow, another clings to comfort. There's a voice inside you crying for change, while your ego, addicted to control, tries to quiet it. An internal death and rebirth. But it's in this ruin that something new can rise. When everything is stripped away, when your certainties fall apart, when pain exposes your deepest vulnerability, you finally see yourself. Not the image, not the performance, not the armor, just you. And at that moment, suffering becomes sacred, because it brings you to your knees before the one thing that can free you. Hill understood this. Suffering is not the system's failure, it's part of your becoming. Pain isn't the end of your path, it's the start of your true journey. But many give up before crossing that dark valley. They retreat, escape, float back to the surface. But not you. If you've made it this far, it's because you're ready to cross. And in the next section, we'll explore what that crossing looks like, how this lonely, brutal path of becoming who you are is exactly what sets you free. Let's keep going. It's getting deeper now. Few ever begin the journey of becoming whole. Fewer still finish it, because this road offers no comfort, no guarantees. It doesn't protect your ego, it shatters it. Napoleon Hill described this process as becoming who you truly are, but that means first unlearning who you thought you were, and that hurts more than any outside rejection, because then you realize the version of you that earned approval, that built success, that chased love, was your survival strategy. But surviving isn't living. Individuation, the becoming of your full self, is life's invitation beyond survival. It begins when everything you buried is forced to the surface. Your unconscious rises, pushing up the pain, the distortions, the lies you once needed. Individuation demands the death of your false self. Hill believed it requires shedding your public mask, the persona you wore to fit in. In other words, you'll have to tear off your skin just to find what lives beneath. And that's where something powerful begins. You become unshakable, not because nothing hurts, but because you've been through fire. You've faced your shadows, you've looked into the eyes of your shame, your desperation, your rage, and said, I see you, you don't own me anymore. And that inner clarity, that fearless honesty with your darkness, that's where strength is born. The kind of strength that doesn't rely on applause or status or control. You no longer need to be loved by everyone. You no longer need to win every fight. You no longer need to pretend you're strong, because you know who you are, and no one can strip that from you. True emotional resilience isn't a hard shell, it's a steady center. It's the weaving together of all your parts into a core that storms can't shake. You still feel pain, but it doesn't break you. You still get hurt, but you never lose yourself. Because you're no longer reactive, you've become whole. You don't live on the surface anymore, you live in the depths. But this depth has a cost, loneliness. Not because you'll be alone, but because few can follow. Most people are still trapped in the masks, the fear of feeling. And when you start to break free, you inevitably drift apart. But that drift isn't rejection, it's growth. You're not pulling away from pride, you're just no longer willing to shrink to fit in. You've outgrown the places where you once hid. And that brings us to the final truth of this journey, consciousness as your shield. Because what protects you isn't strength, it's clarity. That's what we'll uncover in the last part, how awareness is the one state where nothing, absolutely nothing, can overpower you. Let's finish this together. You're almost there. Now that you've made it this far, something must be said clearly. Nothing, absolutely nothing, will protect you from external suffering if you remain unconscious of your inner world. Words will still wound, rejections will still sting, loss will still crush you until you awaken. An awakening isn't some magic moment, it's a daily decision. It's choosing to look within, even when it hurts. It's owning your emotions, without blaming others, the past, or fate. Napoleon Hill once said, "What you resist persists, what you accept transforms." And your whole life you've resisted the fear of being inadequate, the ache of rejection, the loneliness of being unseen. But what did you do with it? You buried it, silenced it, tried to control everything, tried to be perfect, tried to be strong, and it's all led you here. Exhausted from fighting the world and yourself. But now you know real emotional immunity isn't about being tough. It's about being clear. It's not about building armor. It's about expanding awareness. Because when you understand your patterns, your wounds, your triggers, then other people's actions lose their power to destroy you. You still feel, but you don't drown. You still suffer, but you don't vanish. And that changes everything. What protects you isn't escaping life. It's diving into it completely. Those who live on the surface are wrecked by every wave, but those who dive deep, they discover silence, stability, and power, and that's where you're headed. When you live from that place of presence, of integration, of acceptance, the world might still try to shake you, but it can't find where to hit you anymore. If this message has stirred something within you, write in the comments. I choose awareness. Let's start a movement, not of people pretending to be strong, but of people ready to live truthfully. And don't forget, the next video is part of this journey too. You must keep going. Real transformation only begins when you refuse to stop at the first step. I'll see you there.